Hi everyone, we're on the third video for this lesson. This is section 10.2 called Trigonometric Ratios. So we're starting some of our trig. This will continue in section 10.3 as well. Alright, so when we're talking about the trigonometric ratios, or how about we just call them trig ratios? How's that? We have to identify the sides related to an angle. So when you're looking at the first diagram here, you can see that angle A has a little bit of highlight there. So from angle A, we have a side opposite, and we have a side adjacent. Let's see, let me do it like this. All right, that's my adjacent side. And then we have a hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle. So it's easy to find the hypotenuse no matter what. It doesn't really even matter which angle we're looking at. The hypotenuse will be the same. But the side adjacent and the side opposite will not be the same because we have to look at a certain angle to find those two. Those are always the legs. Right, so the two sides that are perpendicular will be your adjacent and opposite sides. On the next one, we're looking at angle B. So the side opposite angle B is side B. And then the side adjacent to angle B is side A. So it's just a matter of, okay, from the perspective of this angle, where's my opposite side, where's my adjacent side, and make sure that you're looking at that. Hypotenuse, always opposite the right angle. Okay, so you want to look at these, and we only talk about this for right triangles. Notice my caution, be careful, the hypotenuse is never considered to be either the adjacent side or the opposite side. It is not a leg of the triangle. Remember, the legs of the triangle are the two sides that are perpendicular. All right. So here's sine, cosine, and tangent. And it shows that for sine, the sine of A is the side opposite over the hypotenuse. So in relation to this triangle, the side opposite angle A is side A, and the hypotenuse is C. The cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So in relation to angle A, that would be side B over the hypotenuse C. And then the tangent of angle A is opposite over adjacent, so side A over side B. Now, there are some, I forgot to say something. Some little acronyms that can help you. So on sine, it's S. The sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And then the tangent is opposite over adjacent, and we call this SOHCAHTOA. It's just kind of a silly thing, but honestly, I've remembered it for years this way, and so there's nothing wrong with doing that. I forgot to tell you back here, I didn't have room on that other screen, that trigonometry means triangle measurement. So it doesn't sound so complicated when you say it that way. Triangle measurement, that's what it means. So I just want to throw that in. I had it in my notes and then I forgot to say that. Okay, so let's go back to these examples. So it says here, for each of the following triangles, calculate the indicated trigonometric ratios of the given angle. Do not use the trig function keys on your calculator. So we're not going to get to those on this slide. We'll get to those here in a minute. All we're going to do is write out the ratios because that's where those come from, those numbers on your calculator. This one says the cosine of 42. So we're going to write this as the cosine of 42 is equal to, now we're looking at this angle. So the side opposite, remember it's opposite over hypotenuse. That's my opposite side, and this is my hypotenuse. Oh, what am I saying? And then this is my adjacent side. So whenever I'm working with cosine, I always tell students find the opposite side, and then you won't be confused about the adjacent side. So that's the reason for talking about the opposite. I don't really need that side for this one. I need adjacent over hypotenuse. And so when you're looking at the opposite side, it's always opposite the angle, and you can draw that arrow and say, okay, I'm doing cosine. I don't need this side, but I need to know where it was to make sure I get my adjacent side correct, because often the adjacent side is the more confusing one. Now, we're going to write the numbers given. So we have 148 over 200. And always stop and think about which ratio am I looking at, so that you don't get them mixed up. You know, like sine's opposite over hypotenuse, but cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Now, to get the actual number, we just take 148 divided by 200. So the cosine of 42 is 0.74. We're rounding to the hundredths place there. Okay, on the next one, we're working with tangent. So the tangent of 28 is equal to, now on this one, it's the side, right, here's our angle, the side opposite over the side adjacent. And for tangent, we don't need the hypotenuse. My hypotenuse is over here. But we don't need hypotenuse when we're writing the tangent ratio. So opposite over adjacent, and then we calculate that by dividing 8 by 15, and it is about 0.53. I guess these all should be wavy equal signs. That one is anyway. On the first one, let me check that. The first one came out exact, so we didn't have any wavy equal signs, but 8 over 15 does not come out exact. All right, last we're finding the sine of 44. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Remember, hypotenuse is across from the right angle, also the longest side of the triangle. And that's 20 over 29. When we simplify that, it is 0.69. All right, so that is just about being able to identify the parts of this and set up your ratios, and you need to do that sometimes. Sometimes you'll be finding the angle, and you need to set up those numbers in order to get the angle measure. Okay, so sine, cosine, tangent again. Find the following trig values round to 3 decimal places. This is strictly calculator. So for the one that we use in this class, the one that we recommend and require, you simply push the cosine button and the number 38. So cosine 38, very straightforward. We round to 3 decimal places, and this one is 0.788. And then the next one, tangent of 6, you push the tangent button and then 6, tangent 6. You can close the parenthesis on that or not, and it's going to calculate the same way. It's when you put something else in there that you would have to close the parenthesis for sure. And this one is 0.105 when we round it to 3 decimal places. Last is the sine of 106, and round it again to 3 decimal places. Now it's important that you can set up the ratios for our next lesson, 10.3. It's important that you can calculate these with your calculator. So those are the easy ones when I'm given the angle and we're looking for the ratio, right? This is actually the trig value comes from the ratio of the sides with an angle of 38. so for cosine, or an angle of 6 for tangent, and so on. All right, the last part is finding the angle measure when you're given the ratio. So this time we don't know the angle. On your calculator, angle A is going to be, right, the inverse of, so it's second cosine on your calculator. So do second, you'll see right above cosine it says -1, it's cos -1. And you're going to put in the 0.662. I just close the parentheses to be on the safe side. We're finding the measure of the angle that we get from this ratio. So our angle is 48.5 degrees. And that's how you're going to find angle measure. If this is given, you're going to do second cosine, second tangent, second sine, whatever it is that you need. Angle A for this next one is going to be tangent -1 of 0.225. And if you want, I mean, you can put that in parentheses, it doesn't matter. But that's how you calculate it. Second tan, 0.225. It's like the inverse of that, and then we get 12.7 degrees. Here's our last one. We're going to find angle A. So inverse sine. That's how you get that -1, second sine. That's the inverse. And then 0.472. This angle measure is about 28.2 degrees. So that's just a little tidbit of things, but you really need to understand this section 10.2 in order to be able to work through section 10.3, where we're actually finding from a drawing, right? Find this angle, find this side, or whatever. And so it is important to understand. And you'll be solving equations when you do section 10.3. All right, that's the end of this. Bye, everyone.